Growing up, I believed marriage was sacred, an unbreakable bond forged in love and trust. My parents made it look easy. They were each other's world, and I figured that's how it was supposed to be. That belief followed me into adulthood. When I met Laura in college, I thought I'd found my forever. She was everything I wasn't: social, outgoing, vibrant. I was more reserved, steady. We balanced each other out in all the right ways. We got married right after graduation, full of big dreams and naive optimism. Life got busy, as it does, but it was good. We built a home, careers, and brought two beautiful daughters into the world, Beth and Janie. Laura kept her last name, and I saw it as a symbol of her independence, not a threat to our unity. We felt solid, real, unshakable. But life has a way of flipping everything upside down when you least expect it. Tonight, my wife is with another man. That's just reality now. It started a few months ago. I stumbled on messages between her and someone named Scott. At first, I didn't want to believe what I was reading. But there it was, spelled out in text bubbles: affection, rendezvous, secrets. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. She said it was just something she needed. That word still burns in my head. I didn't know it then, but that moment was the real turning point for our family. Since then, our world's been upside down. Tonight, she left wearing her best dress, hair done up, and overnight bag slung over her shoulder. She leaned in for a half-hearted kiss on the cheek. I turned away. I couldn't fake it anymore. She called it an open marriage. Said it was progressive, modern, but to me it felt like betrayal dressed up in polite terms. Eventually, I saw a lawyer. I wanted to know what my options were. I was angry, beyond angry, and spilled everything. She was sympathetic but brutally honest. In Texas, no-fault divorce meant I'd probably lose the house, the majority of custody, and still end up footing the bill for Laura to play house with her new man. Best case scenario? I'd see my girls every other weekend and maybe a few weeks in the summer. That idea crushed me. I asked if I could kick Laura out. She shook her head. Bad move. She could say it's a hostile environment and have you removed. I felt trapped. My lawyer, God bless her expensive soul, suggested something I used to think was a bad joke: cheaper to keep her. Tolerate the affair, keep the house, stay close to my kids. It sounded insane, but slowly it started making sense. I didn't want to lose everything. I couldn't. So, a few weeks later, I tried to have a rational talk with Laura. We sat at the kitchen table. I had a beer in hand, trying to stay level-headed. How are we supposed to stay married if you're seeing someone else? I asked. She gave me this strange look. Jason, I still love you. I'm still your wife. What I have with Scott is something separate. Just once a week. That hit me hard. So I'm not enough anymore? No, that's not what I'm saying, she said, trying to ease the tension. It's just, there are things I need that you haven't been giving me. I snapped. Well, thanks for clarifying. So I'm not even good for that anymore. She tried to smooth it over. I'm not denying you anything, Jason. I love you. Oh, great. So I get some charity affection when you're in the mood. I shot back. I went for another beer. I needed something to keep me from boiling over. She followed me, placed her hands on my shoulders. Let me make it up to you, she said softly. Let's go to the bedroom. Let me show you how much I love you. I turned to her, disgusted. Why now? Why not run to Scott? Isn't that what you really want? I left the room. Slammed the basement door behind me. That was the night I stopped pretending. While she was gone, I moved all her things into the basement bedroom. When she got back the next morning, her voice echoed through the house. Jason, where's all my stuff? I met her in the hallway. Figured if you've got a boyfriend now, maybe we should sleep apart. Your things are in the basement. I walked away without another word. From that point on, the air in the house turned ice cold. Tense. Distant. We coexisted under the same roof but lived in completely separate worlds. A few nights later, she tried to play the domestic card, made my favorite dinner, the works. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, peas. The kitchen smelled like home again, but it didn't feel like it anymore. Because even if she was in our kitchen, her heart was somewhere else. And I'm left wondering, how did we get here? And what the hell do I do next? I told Jason to get the girls cleaned up and ready for dinner. He did without a word. We sat at the table, Beth and Janie laughing about school and cartoons while Jason stayed focused on them, never once looking at me. After dinner, he silently cleaned up like always. He got the girls into pajamas, read them a bedtime story, and tucked them in. Then he disappeared into his home office, typing away behind a closed door. When he finally came to bed, I was already under the covers. He showered, brushed his teeth, got in beside me, and said nothing. I tried to reach for him to close the gap between us. But he gently pulled my hand away, then tucked the blanket between us like a physical wall. That became our rhythm. Day after day, week after week, the house felt like a walk-in freezer. Jason didn't yell or fight, he just shut down. I kept telling myself he'd come around. That once he saw Scott didn't mean anything, we'd find our way back. All I had to do was wait it out. But Jason wasn't just waiting. He was changing. He started waking up before dawn to run. Said it helped him think. The first few days, he came home red-faced and exhausted. But by the third week, he was covering 6 miles a day. His body changed. His posture. His energy. He looked stronger, more alive, but also more distant. Like a man preparing for a life that no longer included me. Then he got an idea, something big. He told me he was thinking about buying a trailer and a truck to take the kids camping. I raised an eyebrow and he had an answer ready. Why do you need a boyfriend? He took Beth and Janie to an RV show one weekend. They came home buzzing with excitement. They pointed out every model they loved, dreaming up adventures and sleeping arrangements. I stayed quiet. A few weeks later, he bought one. A used Grand Design Transcend 2 years old, nearly 37 feet long. Bunk beds for the girls, a double for him, full kitchen, 1.5 baths, TVs, air conditioning. Then he picked up a heavy-duty GMC 2500 diesel, also used, from an older couple who were moving to Portugal. He spent about $80,000 on the setup. It wasn't just a camping rig, it was a declaration. He was building a life around the girls. And I had to choose whether I wanted to be part of it. Meanwhile, Scott asked why I didn't go with them. They went camping, he said. Why didn't you? Because I'm mad at Jason, I answered. He bought that thing without even asking. You hate camping? No, I said, he's just trying to control me because of us. Scott raised an eyebrow. Didn't you say he agreed to the whole thing? Not really, I admitted. I told him I was doing it. He found out when he saw my messages and the stuff in my purse. It got ugly. He didn't see it coming, huh? Nope. He just shook his head and walked away. Are you planning to leave him? No, I said firmly. I love him. I love our kids. I don't want to give up our life. Scott leaned back. You really think he's okay being your second choice? He'll realize it's not like that. You sure? You haven't even touched him in months. If you want to keep him, you might want to start acting like it. That shut me up. Scott wasn't wrong. So what do I do? Go home. Fix it. Before you lose everything. Later that week, I stood in our quiet kitchen, staring at a simple note Jason had left behind. We're going south for a week. Back next Sunday. No love? No goodbye. Just facts. I called Scott in a panic. They're gone. So, what am I supposed to do? You blew it, he said. You better pray your husband comes back with those kids. Because if he doesn't, you're out of chances. Then he hung up. Meanwhile, Jason and the girls were having the time of their lives. The weather was perfect. They hiked, played in waterfalls, spent a day at a water park. The girls barely even mentioned me. Jason told them the truth gently, that what was happening wasn't their fault. That it was all on me. Sunday night, they came home. I was waiting. Mom, the girls yelled, running in for hugs. I smiled, hugged them tight, and told myself there was still time to fix this. They went off to their rooms, dragging laundry bags behind them. But Jason, he didn't even look at me. And I wasn't sure anymore if he ever would again. I was cleaning out the camper when Laura wandered out, acting like she was interested in what I was doing. I'm glad you're home, she said casually. It's been really quiet here all week. Without looking up, I replied, how was your week with your boyfriend? She didn't respond. Just stood there like she didn't hear me. Then she changed the subject, asking about the campground. I told her it was in North Carolina, near a water park. The girls loved it. After I finished, I went inside, threw her laundry in the wash, took a shower, and started making dinner. Laura offered to cook, but I told her I had it covered. During dinner, she acted overly interested in our trip, asking about every detail like she actually cared. I played along, answering her questions but not offering much else. Then I asked if she was heading out that night. She said no. Claimed her family was her priority. I nodded but didn't buy it. Still, I told her the week's schedule for the girls, school, practice, summer plans. We went through the motions. Months passed, and life settled into the strange, quiet truce. Laura kept seeing Scott a couple of times a week. She tried to downplay it, calling it casual, but it was still cheating no matter how she dressed it up. I decided against filing for divorce, not because I forgave her, but because I knew the system would punish me and, more importantly, the girls. Texas doesn't care about affairs when it comes to custody. All that mattered was avoiding a mess that would wreck our daughters' lives. So I stayed. I slept next to her, lived under the same roof, but I was done playing the fool. I went into defense mode, bought a trailer, took the girls camping, made sure they saw the world and had their dad by their side. Laura hated it, thought it was payback. Maybe it was. Maybe I just wanted her to feel even a fraction of the consequences. Meanwhile, I got back to being myself. Joined a cycling group, started running again, picked up the guitar. I stayed away from dating apps, too much risk, too little control. Instead, I just lived. And through that, I met some good people. One of them was Diana. She was a few years younger, a single mom with a 4-year-old daughter. An orthodontist. Beautiful, funny, smart. We met through cycling and eventually grabbed coffee. Then dinner. We weren't looking for anything serious. Just someone to talk to, laugh with, enjoy life beside. I invited her and her daughter on a camping trip with my kids. Laura had never liked camping anyway. And honestly, I didn't feel the need to tell her. If she could have her fun without consequences, so could I. A year after discovering her affair, I hit my limit. I needed clarity, answers, closure. It was a Friday. I bought Laura her favorite wine, grabbed a beer for myself, and sat her down at the kitchen table. The kids were in the other room watching a movie. It was time. "Are you in love with him?" I asked. She hesitated, took a long sip of wine, and avoided my eyes. "Come on, Laura," I pushed. "You started this. Now we're going to talk about it. So what's it going to be? The easy way or the expensive way?" She furrowed her brow. "What are you talking about? How long were you cheating on me while we were married? Why does that matter now?" She replied, trying to sidestep the question. "Why stir everything up?" "Because I'm done pretending," I said. "You know what you've been doing. Do you even know what I've been doing?" She tried to play it off. "You've been camping, riding your bike, staying busy." "Yeah, and a few other things you wouldn't understand," I said, leaving it at that. She looked uncomfortable, caught somewhere between amusement and caution. Laura had always assumed I wouldn't push back, that I'd keep the peace for the kids. She used that as her shield, betting I'd never rock the boat too hard. But she didn't realize I had my own plans now. "You still haven't answered. Do you love him? Are you going to keep seeing him?" She paused. "I don't really have a boyfriend." "For God's sake, stop lying," I snapped. "How long has Scott been around? Were there others before him? And are you absolutely sure our daughters are even mine?" She flinched but said nothing. "You've been a terrible wife, Laura. I'm not happy. This hasn't been a marriage for years. And tonight that changes." "What are you talking about?" "Oh, come on," I said. "To you, I'm just a safety net. I cook, clean, raise the girls, and you get to live free. We haven't touched each other in 2 years. And you think that's normal?" Still, she didn't speak. "I'm done. I want you to move out." She blinked like she didn't hear me. "I'm not leaving our house, Jason. That's nonsense. It's not your house anymore. Not really. You already left this family in every way that matters. Now it's time to make it official. Choose your boyfriend or choose this family. But you can't have both." "What do you even want, Laura?" I asked, finishing off my beer and heading for the kitchen sink. I could feel my blood pressure spiking. I needed to walk it off. I had finally thrown down the gauntlet. Now I wanted to see how she'd respond. Inside her head, Laura was already scrambling. I need a lawyer, she probably thought. I can't let Jason kick me out. She still clung to the illusion that I should just get over it. Claimed she wasn't denying me anything, but we hadn't touched each other in ages. Not because I wasn't interested, but because the connection was gone. Burned out by her choices. In her mind, she still had the upper hand. The courts, the house, the kids. She figured if she was patient, things would swing back in her favor. Maybe if she could just get me to sleep with her again, she'd be able to rewrite the narrative. She told herself she loved me, but she still needed Scott. It's temporary, she probably thought. I'll come back to Jason when I'm done. This thing with Scott isn't forever. But she was wrong. I was done waiting for change that wasn't coming. I started managing our finances differently. Opened a separate account, rerouted my paycheck and bonuses there. I left just enough to cover half the bills, forcing Laura to contribute her share. No more free rides. If she wanted to play house with someone else, she could pay her part. I wasn't funding her affair. Unbeknownst to me, Laura had already consulted a lawyer named Claire, someone seasoned in family law. She wanted to protect herself if things exploded. According to her, if we divorced, she'd get the house, custody of the girls, and monthly checks from me. But her lawyer warned her courts weren't as biased as they used to be. If I could prove I was the more stable, present parent, I had a shot at primary custody. Jason takes them to school events, camping. He's involved. Claire took notes. You? You're missing events, not around much, busy with work, and your boyfriend? Laura admitted to seeing Scott several times a week. Claire's reaction was immediate. This could seriously hurt you. Meanwhile, Diana and I kept growing closer. Our kids got along like siblings and she understood everything without me having to explain. We weren't trying to build a fantasy, just giving each other space to breathe. Our Florida trip with the girls had been incredible. 9 days of sun, Disney, hikes, and beach mornings. Everyone loved it. Even Matilda, Diana's daughter, called me Mr. J and followed my girls like a shadow. Back home, Laura was losing ground. And she knew it. She visited Claire again while I was away. Looking for reassurance, fishing for control. But Claire gave her a dose of reality. You're at risk of losing custody, she told her. Jason is hands-on, consistent, and the court may see him as the better parent. Laura tried to downplay her absence from the kids' lives, blamed her job, her schedule, but Claire saw through it. When pressed, Laura admitted the full extent of her relationship with Scott. That she saw him multiple times a week. That she prioritized those hours over time with her own children. Claire didn't say it, but the look in her eyes said everything. You're not just in trouble, you're losing your grip on the family you took for granted. Back in my world, I was ready. It was Saturday night. The girls were asleep. The house was quiet. It was time for consequences. For the first real step forward. And Laura? She didn't even see it coming. I grabbed a beer and poured Laura a glass of wine. She glanced at me, knowing what that meant. I wanted to talk. Isn't it a little late for a beer? She asked. It's only 9, I said. We need to talk about our marriage. About responsibilities. Daily life stuff. She blinked, guarded. What do you mean? I mean, it's time we clarify who's responsible for what, I replied. I've made a list. You'll probably have thoughts, let's go over it. She took a long sip of wine, bracing herself. I pulled out a notebook. First off, finances. We need to decide who pays for what. I'll take care of the truck and camper, but household expenses, the girls' needs, tuition, that should be split. I paused, let it land. We should set a budget. Nothing complicated. Just clear. Laura looked overwhelmed. I laid out a reasonable breakdown, nothing harsh, nothing vengeful. Just fair. But I made it clear I wasn't funding her escapades anymore. If she wanted independence, it came with a price tag. We talked for hours. It wasn't a fight, just a long overdue reckoning. At around 1 a.m. I stretched, yawned, and said I was calling it a night. I left the papers on the desk and headed off to shower and bed. Meanwhile, I could imagine what was going through Laura's head. Jason wants me to pay half of everything, knowing I don't earn as much. He even said I should consider a better paying job. All because I've been spending time with Scott. The next day, Laura visited Claire again. Jason wants to split expenses evenly, she told her lawyer. Claire's eyebrows raised. Tell me everything. Laura recounted our talk, how I'd set boundaries, outlined finances, signaled this marriage was unraveling. Claire took notes. She wasn't impressed. Laura had been seeing Scott for almost 3 years. I found out 2 years ago. And I'd tolerated it not out of weakness, but strategy. Claire saw it for what it was. I was building a case. Quietly but methodically. I wasn't reacting. I was preparing. The core issue? Custody. The house. The girls. If it came down to court, who would the judge side with? Laura couldn't prove she was the better parent. Not with her track record, missed school events, skipped birthdays, time spent with her boyfriend while I raised our daughters. The court would see that. Claire knew it. I had become the stable one. The one holding it all together. Laura tried to convince herself she could fix this by getting me back into bed. If we sleep together, she reasoned, he'll realize Scott doesn't matter. I'm still his wife. But every time she gave me that look after the girls went to bed, something inside me recoiled. I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want her. I just wanted her to be a mother and contribute to the house until the girls grew up. Then she could take her chaos elsewhere. But things were changing. I told Diana that I was finally thinking about ending the marriage. Enough was enough. She and I had started picturing something beyond casual. We weren't just passing time anymore, we were building something. So I made a decision. I was going to talk to Scott. It was Wednesday at 6 p.m. I waited by his car. When he spotted me, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. Dropped his phone. Pick it up, I said. Phones are expensive. He snatched it off the ground, clearly bracing for a confrontation. Relax. I'm not here to hurt you, I told him. We just need to talk. I nodded toward my truck. Let's go grab a beer. You and me. We found a quiet Irish pub and took a corner booth. I ordered an IPA and gestured for him to do the same. He looked nervous. He should have been. All right, I started. We need to settle a few things. Just be honest. He nodded. How long have you been seeing Laura? He hesitated. A while. Define a while? He squirmed. Little over 3 years. I let that sit for a second. At least he wasn't the father of my kids. Small relief. Why did it start? She said she was tired of the routine. Her marriage felt stale. We talked and it just happened. Do you love her? I asked. It's complicated, he replied. I have feelings, but I don't want her to leave you. I like what we have. No commitment. I stared at him. How many other women are you seeing? He didn't answer. You're not exclusive with her, are you? He shook his head. No. Figures. So she had given up our marriage for a guy who wasn't even serious about her. It was almost laughable, almost. But this wasn't funny. It was the slow, grinding collapse of something I used to believe in. I realized something that night. Laura had been treating Scott like a backup plan. Like if it all blew up, I'd still be here, waiting. But that wasn't my problem anymore. I gave Scott one last warning before leaving. Just be ready, I said, standing up from the pub booth and tossing $40 on the table. Having fun with someone else's wife comes with consequences. Do what you want, but don't expect me to clean it up. And one more thing, be careful in dark places. I turned and walked out. That night, Laura went to Scott's apartment again. He let her in, nervous as always, checking the hallway like I might pop out of the shadows. They spent a couple of hours together until he claimed he had a doctor's appointment and rushed her out like an unwanted guest. 1 week later, I took the next step. My attorney had the papers ready. Custody requests, financial disclosures, all of it. Everything I'd quietly prepared over the last year. I had all the proof I needed, her absence, my role in the girls' lives, the financial records, even statements from neighbors. Diana stayed quietly in the background, never pushing, just being present. After the divorce, I planned to ask her to move in. That night, after the girls were asleep, I poured Laura a glass of wine. She saw it coming. You need to be home tomorrow morning, I told her, keeping my voice steady. A package is coming. She exhaled heavily. I knew this might happen. But why go through with it? Can't we just live separately under the same roof? Do our own thing. You knew from the beginning I wouldn't tolerate this, I said. But you counted on the courts not caring. You banked on keeping the house, the kids, the money while I just endured. She sighed, but I wasn't done. I wanted a faithful wife. That's it. You made your choice. Now it's time to face mine. I stood, grabbed a beer, and sat back down. Better we talk it through now than spend a fortune fighting it out in court. I'm going to fight this, Jason, she said, almost desperate. I still love you. I love our family. I held up a hand to stop her. Your actions say otherwise, I said. You've shown your love to Scott, not me. Her voice shifted to defiance. I'll get custody. You'll see them once a week. And you'll be paying to keep us right here. Call it off, Jason, we can go back to normal. Normal died 18 months ago. You just didn't notice, I replied. Are you ready to give up Scott? Silence. Let's make a deal, she said after a pause. I'll keep seeing him, you do what you want. I'll even go camping again. That was it. The moment I knew there was nothing left. Why now? Why are you bargaining now? I asked, voice tight with frustration. Because you know you're losing? You think this is a game. My time with Scott doesn't affect anything, she said, almost pleading. You're with the kids. They're happy. Don't throw that away over something meaningless. I stared at her. Laura, I used to love you. But once you gave yourself to another man, that love changed. There are consequences. I don't love him, she insisted. It's not like that. It's just recreational. I love you. I love our kids. If you come back to our bed, I'll prove it. I looked her in the eye. Do you love me enough to give him up? Again, no answer. She stared at her hands, lips pressed tight. I know what I should say, she whispered. But I can't. Don't go to work tomorrow, I said. Just don't. And I went to bed. The next morning, I got up early, made breakfast, and got the girls ready for school. Laura and I didn't speak. The girls barely looked at her as they left. I heard the doorbell ring right after. A middle-aged woman in a sports jacket stood outside. Good morning. Are you Laura Staples? Yes. May I see identification? Laura fetched her license. The woman snapped a photo of it, then handed her a thick brown envelope. You've been served. She took a picture of Laura holding the envelope and walked off. Laura just stood there stunned. She placed the envelope on the table, staring at it like if she didn't open it, it wouldn't be real. Jason's not really ending this, right? She must have thought. She sat down with a glass of water, hands trembling, and finally opened it. Inside were papers that would change her life. All she could think was, why did Jason have to do this? Why couldn't he just let me have my freedom and still keep everything else? She tried to justify it. Scott never got in the way. I was still a good wife. A good mother. Jason didn't even need to know. But it was too late. The truth was out and control was gone. Panicked, she called Claire. When Laura walked into Claire's office that afternoon, the panic was written all over her face. Her husband had had enough, and this time he meant it. Claire reviewed the documents. Jason had prepared everything: custody, finances, asset division. A clean, methodical strategy that showed he wasn't just reacting. He was ready to win. And for once, Laura realized she might actually lose. Laura had neglected our family for years. School events, vacations, even basic routines, she traded them for Scott. There were photos friends had sent them of her and Scott at restaurants, laughing, holding hands in public like they had nothing to hide. She sat silently at her attorney's desk while Claire reviewed the divorce petition. I could only imagine the questions a family court judge might ask her. And the answers wouldn't help her case. The courts don't punish infidelity anymore. But neglecting your kids? Walking away from your responsibilities to chase another man? That they take seriously. Claire leaned forward. Laura, have you even read this petition? She stammered. I skimmed it. Then let me be clear. Jason's filing for divorce. He's asking for full custody. He's documented everything. This is serious. I don't want a divorce, Laura insisted, her voice small. I want to keep our family together. Claire stared at her, eyebrows raised. Laura, that's not going to happen. What do you mean? Laura asked, stunned. He can't just walk away from me. From the girls. He can, Claire said calmly. And by the look of this petition, he's more than ready to. We've talked about this. He has every right to file, and frankly, he's made a solid case. Laura fidgeted. It's because of Scott, isn't it? Jason's jealous. I thought he wouldn't care. I didn't think it would go this far. How do I fix this? There is no fix, Laura, Claire said. Only damage control. Silence. Jason's asking that you move out before the divorce is finalized, Claire added. There's a mandatory 60-day waiting period. If you both agree, the divorce can be finalized at that time. If not, it could take up to 4 months. Can I ask for counseling? She asked, desperate. You can. But it needs to be completed within the cooling-off period. Do you really believe Jason will agree to that now? Laura slumped in her seat. I'll arrange a meeting with Jason's attorney, Claire told her. We'll see what can be done. For now, go home. Be with the kids. Try to talk to him. That's your only card left to play. Laura nodded and stood, leaving like someone in a fog. After she left, Claire's assistant walked in. That one looked like a deer in headlights. She just realized her husband's done, Claire replied. And that he's going to win. That afternoon, I got the call. Laura's attorney wanted a meeting ASAP. I agreed. I wanted this over with, and I wanted it clean. Until then, I had to be careful. Minimize interaction. Avoid any accusation of intimidation. When I got home, Laura's car was in the driveway. Inside, she was hovering over the girls like nothing was wrong, pretending to be deeply interested in their homework. The girls looked at me confused. What's she doing here? I cooked dinner. She set the table. We ate. The girls chatted. But it all felt like theater. After they went to bed, I went to my home office. I had bills to pay, emails to send. That's when Laura appeared in the doorway. Jason, can we talk? I didn't look up. It's a little late for that, isn't it? I don't want a divorce, she said, voice cracking. I want us to be a family again. I repeated myself, not bothering to hide my exhaustion. It's a little late for that. How can I show you I still love you? She pleaded. I looked at her, dead in the eyes. It's a little late, Laura. You had 2 years. Why won't you talk to me? She snapped, voice rising. I've tried. No. I cut her off. You ignored me. You ignored the girls. And now I'm ready to ignore you. I want marriage counseling, she offered, as if that fixed everything. So you can waste time and money just to leave again? Go to all the therapists you want. Just don't expect me to be there. We can't do this, Jason, she begged. The kids will get hurt. I shook my head. You didn't think about that when you were out with Scott. You thought about you. And now your narcissism is catching up with you. She reeled. What? For God's sake, go see a therapist. Or better yet, pack your bags and go stay with Scott. Let him deal with your mess. I brushed past her, headed for the spare room I'd been using for months. I needed a shower. Space. But even there, she followed. I was under the hot water, trying to clear my head, when the bathroom door creaked open. Laura stepped in, eyes red. What are you doing? I asked, startled. Please, Jace, let me in. We're family. I need you. You need me? I asked, raising a hand. You needed me when you were lying to me, when you were with Scott, when you walked away from us. You didn't think about any of this back then. She stared at me, silent. Get out. And this time, she listened. I stood there under the water, heart pounding, realizing just how far gone we were. There was no going back now. An hour after checking on the kids, I noticed Laura's car was gone. Then the doorbell rang. Crap. Who the hell is at my door right now? My phone buzzed, 3 texts from Laura in the last hour. Double crap. And then, Scott. Baby, who's that? Maria called from the bedroom. I'll handle it. You stay here, I said, trying to play it cool as I slipped on my boxer briefs and grabbed my phone. I walked into the kitchen, dread building in my chest. I'm not supposed to see Laura until Thursday. What the hell is she doing here? The phone rang. Hello, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. It's me, honey. Laura's voice came through. What's going on? I asked, feeling that old familiar tension crawl up my neck. Open the door. I hesitated. My brain raced. I'd been seeing Maria for a few months now. Things were good. Easy. Laura showing up unannounced was a problem I didn't need. Sure, her marriage was falling apart, but this wasn't my mess to fix anymore. Now's not a good time. I'll call you tomorrow, I said, hoping to push her off. I just need to talk to you, she pleaded. I heard voices in the background. Then Laura's voice again. Oh, thank you. Someone must have let her into the building. 3 minutes later, there was a knock. Scott, it's me. Let me in. Please. Maria walked into the kitchen, wearing a t-shirt and holding a glass of water. What's going on? She asked, confused. Just an old girlfriend, I lied. Sounds like she's had a rough night. Are you going to let her in? I sighed, walked to the door, peeked through the peephole, then unlocked it. Laura walked in with a bag over her shoulder. The moment she saw Maria, she froze. Maria set her glass down and practically sprinted to the bedroom. 10 seconds later, she was dressed and heading out the door. Don't bother calling me, she said sharply. It ended just like that. Laura watched her leave. Who was she? What do you think, Laura? What do you want? She set her bag down and took in the dishes on the table, the wine glasses, realized exactly what she'd interrupted. I walked to the bedroom, threw on a shirt, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and returned. We weren't supposed to meet until Thursday. Let me guess. Your husband kicked you out. She nodded. And now you thought you'd just crash here? What did you do, Laura? She swallowed. Can I get a drink, Scott? I poured her a glass of wine. She took a long sip and whispered, He's divorcing me. Oh, really? I replied dryly. Didn't see that coming. He told me he doesn't want me as his wife anymore. Can you blame him? We've been having fun for years. I'm surprised he lasted this long. What happened to your plan to get him back into bed? She looked away. He wouldn't touch me. Said he didn't want sloppy seconds. Well, you're totally screwed now in more ways than one. So, why are you here? I asked. Just looking for a place to land now that your world's falling apart? She didn't answer. Maria was gone. Laura stayed. Why not? She was always up for a good time and I had no other plans. She spent the night. When I woke up in the morning, she was gone. Perfect. The divorce was moving forward. I got an email from my attorney. Laura's lawyer wanted a meeting later that week. Good. The sooner this was over, the better. I started arranging backup childcare. There was a woman in the neighborhood who helped out 3 afternoons a week, time to make that 5. I also adjusted my work schedule so I could work from home more. The girls were my focus now. 2 days later, Laura still hadn't come back. More of her stuff was missing. I assumed she was with Scott. I didn't care. The girls didn't even ask about her, and strangely, she hadn't called them either. I phoned her parents. They were shocked, had no idea what was going on. Why isn't she living here? Her mother asked. I gave a vague answer and promised Laura would explain everything soon. That evening, Laura's mom, Susan, showed up at the house. She greeted the girls, then sat down with me. What the hell is going on, Jason? I spent 2 hours walking her through the last 3 years of my marriage. She had questions. Lots of them. In the end, she apologized for Laura's behavior. I didn't need her apology. I needed Laura to own what she'd done. 3 more days passed. Laura was still MIA. So I paid Scott another visit. I waited near his car. When he saw me, his whole body tensed. I'm not here for you, I said. Just checking if Laura's with you. He nodded. Yeah, she's here. You think I came to take her home? Aren't you? No. I just needed to know she's safe. Scott looked tired. Honestly? I was hoping you would take her. I don't want her living here. I blinked. I thought you two were in love. Soulmates, right? We had fun, he admitted. But I told her if she wanted to keep her family, she should go back to you. Yeah? She didn't listen, did she? Nope. Well, she's your problem now. I don't want her, he said quickly. You've enjoyed her company plenty. Yeah, but not all the time. She likes you. What's the issue? I don't want her, he suddenly shouted. Just take her. Please. I don't want a woman with 2 kids. I smirked. Sorry, Scott. She's all yours now. And I walked away. I didn't say anything to Scott. Just got in my car and drove off, leaving him standing there to deal with the mess he helped create. You should have thought about this years ago, I muttered under my breath, starting the engine and backing out. Before I left, I gave him one last shot of reality. Tell her to come home. Her kids are wondering where she is. And her mom wants answers. The next day, I was working from home when I heard the front door unlock. Laura. I didn't even need to look. I waited until she walked into the kitchen. Back for more of your stuff? I asked without turning around. She looked caught off guard. Jason, I didn't know you were home. I didn't see your car. It's in the garage. Getting work done, I replied. I'm working from home today. She stood there, uncertain. What are you here for? I asked, patience thinning. I thought maybe I could come home, she said, hesitant like a kid who'd broken curfew. Well, Beth and Janie have been wondering where you disappeared to. I figured you were with your boyfriend, I said coolly. Your mom's here too. She's got a few things she'd like to say. Her head snapped up. My mother? What does she want? She's curious why her daughter vanished from her family. I told her the truth. Laura's face paled. What did you say exactly? The truth. There was no apology. No regret. Just panic. That told me everything I needed to know. A few days later, we met at my attorney's office, neutral ground. Her lawyer Claire was already there when I arrived. My attorney gave me a quiet nod and a squeeze of reassurance. We sat in the conference room, the air thick with tension. Before the attorneys could begin, Claire raised a hand. Laura has something she'd like to say. Laura leaned forward. Jace? I don't want a divorce, she said, voice cracking. What would it take for us to go back to being a good family? I love you and the girls. My time with him, it was just stress relief. It wasn't your fault. I always came home. My lawyer squeezed my hand again, a silent reminder to let her speak. Laura kept going, trying to sell the idea that her affair had somehow made her a better wife and mother. I sat there, stunned at the level of self-delusion. My attorney finally redirected the conversation, laying out the numbers, the options, the facts. I was willing to give her the bank accounts, her car, even mine. What I wasn't willing to give up were the girls and the home they grew up in. The attorneys started trading emails and paperwork, driving up the bill. Eventually, my lawyer laid out everything, the documented absences, missed birthdays, skipped school events. It was clear to Claire this would not end well in court. Laura finally agreed. She didn't want to, but she knew she had no leverage left. At first, she resisted, refused to sign. She clung to the fantasy that our family could still be salvaged, that I was being unreasonable, that her time with Scott had never taken anything away from the girls or from me. But Claire leveled with her. If this went to court, she'd lose. Probably everything. So Laura sat there and cried. 4 hours. She couldn't even focus on the documents. Eventually, Claire pointed to each place she needed to sign. Laura moved the pen like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She told herself she was signing away her family, her marriage, her identity. But she wasn't signing that away. She'd thrown it away long before. Later that day, my attorney called. It's done. Laura's signed. You'll get the girls, the house. She has until the final divorce date to move out. Laura would get a share of the house's value when our youngest turned 18 plus 6 months. She contributed a small monthly amount, just enough to check a box. I kept the education fund going. I wanted the girls to have everything they deserved. She kept her car. Could take whatever furniture she wanted to furnish her new place. I even offered to pay for bunk beds for the girls if they stayed with her. Not out of guilt, but out of responsibility. I wanted peace. For the girls and for me. The shadow of Laura's affair, her inconsistency, her absence, it was draining. Now I could run our home with structure. Rationally. Without betrayal hanging over my head. She could still see the girls if they wanted to. I wasn't going to force them either way. Then Claire called again. It's official, she said. The court signed the final order. You're divorced. And just like that, it was over. Laura stood in her apartment, staring at the envelope like it was from a stranger. She hadn't told her family. Hadn't found a place to live. She pretended for so long that this would all blow over. But it hadn't. And now she was out of time. A few days after she vanished again, Laura returned, but not to talk or make peace. She walked into the house like she still lived there. I was in the home office when I heard the door open. She stepped in, trying to keep her voice steady. Jason, honey, can we talk? I didn't even look up. What do you want to talk about, Laura? She stood there for a second. I don't have anywhere else to go. Do I really have to leave? Can I stay just a little longer? I finally looked at her like she had two heads. You've had weeks, Laura. Where's your boyfriend? Go stay with him. Her eyes dropped. He can't take me in. Why not? I asked, incredulous. You liked being with him. She didn't answer. I got up, walked into the kitchen, and fired up the coffee machine. There were boxes in the living room, her stuff. I'd packed it myself. Laura just stood there, watching as if it all wasn't real. She hadn't lifted a finger to prepare. No apartment. No tuition payments for the kids. Not even a phone call to ask how they were doing. I called her attorney. Remind her she has until midnight to move out, I said flatly. I already knew she wouldn't comply. I headed to her old room and started taking down furniture, dismantling the bed, unplugging lamps, hauling things out to the garage. Laura, do you need this stuff? If not, it's getting sold. But either way, it's leaving this house. She just sat on the couch crying. I didn't stop. Come on. Get up. If you want to keep this, then do something. Otherwise, it's gone. Eventually, she picked up her phone and started dialing. A few minutes later, my phone rang. It was her father, George. His voice was full of confusion and frustration. Jason, what the hell's going on? Laura says you're kicking her out. Did she tell you why? I asked. Who cares why? You're putting her on the street. It's a long story. Why don't you and Susan come over? I'll explain everything. They arrived an hour later. I laid it all out, Laura's years-long affair with Scott, the ignored kids, the missed birthdays. I showed them the divorce decree. The settlement. George and Susan sat in silence. Finally, Susan asked, is there any way to fix this? I tried. I gave her every chance. But she never chose her family over him, not once. I asked if they could take her in. George sighed. She made this mess. She can fix it. We'll help with the girls, though. I nodded. That was all I needed. Later that day, I called Scott. When he answered, I said, your girlfriend's parents are furious. Don't call them. And what are you doing with her stuff? I don't know. It's in bags. Great. I'm putting the rest in the garage. If it's not gone by next week, I'm giving it away. Then I hung up. Laura thought ignoring the divorce would make it go away. That I'd eventually cave. Not this time. A week passed. I hired movers to pack her remaining things and put them in storage. Scott called me almost daily. Can she come back? She doesn't live here anymore, I said every time. The first time I said it, he just muttered crap and hung up. Then he showed up at my office. You have to come talk to her, he pleaded. She won't get out of bed. She doesn't work. I can't deal with this. Not my problem, I said. You wanted her. You got her. Deal with it. After that, I called her parents again. Suggested they visit her and maybe consider getting her some help. Meanwhile, I focused on the girls. We moved. Sold the old house, found a new one with a pool and a wide driveway. It felt like a fresh start. Diana and I had grown close. After months of careful planning, she and her daughter Matilda moved in. It worked. It just worked. Diana's warm. Easy to be around. She respects me and she's great with the girls. Matilda's like a little sister to Beth and Janie. They laugh together, explore together, act like a team. We travel in the camper all the time now, hiking, biking, exploring state parks. Watching the girls run freely, unburdened by the past, that's everything. As for Laura, she sees the girls about once a month now. She finally moved into a small apartment near her job. Calls rarely. Visits are short and quiet. The girls don't ask much anymore. I don't force it. When they need to talk, I'm here. And if it ever gets too much, I'll find them someone to talk to. But for now, they're happy. Matilda brings joy into the house and we've found peace. I never imagined my marriage would end this way. But in the wreckage, I rebuilt something real. We're a family now, Diana, me, and 3 daughters who deserve the best parts of life. And that's exactly what we're giving them. We don't hover. We're not helicopter parents. We give the girls space to explore, make mistakes, and laugh loud without judgment. That's the beauty of this new life. But the best part, hands down, is the time I get alone with Jason. Just the 2 of us. Quiet mornings with coffee before the girls wake up. Evening walks. Inside jokes. Shared glances that say we're okay now. I still don't understand how Laura ever let him slip through her fingers. She had everything, husband, home, family. But she wanted more. She wanted freedom and affection and admiration from other men without giving anything up. And in the end, she lost it all. I hope she found whatever it was she was chasing. Because I found what I was missing. Just this past weekend, I saw them, Jason, his girlfriend Diana, and the girls. Even her daughter, Matilda, was with them. They were walking down Main Street, all smiles, sharing ice cream and stories. Jason and Diana were holding hands, laughing like they were teenagers again. And for a moment, watching from a distance, it hit me. That should have been me. Why did it all have to get so complicated? I don't know. I really don't. Looking back, I see my mistakes. I made choices, selfish ones. I convinced myself Jason would tolerate them. That I could bend the rules and keep my safety net. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. Scott kicked me out months ago. We don't talk. We weren't built to last. He was never a partner, just a distraction. Now I sit in a quiet apartment. Alone. I miss the kids. I miss Jason. I miss the way his eyes lit up when he saw me. The way he held me when the world felt too loud. The quiet rhythm of our life together. I miss lying next to him, knowing I belonged. I miss my home. I miss my life. But more than anything, I miss who I used to be before I threw it all away.